The 26 Malignant Gates. The book starts with the idea that a mother keeps a small Chinese book called the 26 Malignant Gates. It lists all the bad things that can happen to a child that go outside on certain days. The daughter doesn't believe it because it's written in Chinese, but the other mother tells her that she doesn't need to read it to know it's true, because the mother already knows what will happen if she disobeys. That's the theme running through this whole section. Each daughter tries to push against her mother, and each one finds out that the mother's warning ends up being right in some way. Everything that happens after this little introduction connects back to that tension, wanting freedom, but being pulled back by something their mother sees that they can't.
Waverly grows up in a busy, crowded Chinatown where everything feels close together and full of rules, both spoken and unspoken. Chess starts out as something small her brothers got from a church Christmas party, but it becomes Waverly's whole world. She trains herself to be better, memorizing moves and strategies until she becomes a champion. The more she succeeds, the more her mother shows her off. And it's not subtle. Her mom walks ahead of her in the market, telling everyone Waverly is her daughter, the national chess prodigy. At first, Waverly goes along with it, but eventually, it feels like she's losing control of her own achievements. It stops feeling like her talent and starts feeling like one more thing her mother manages. Everything builds up until she finally talks back in public and tells her mother to stop bragging about it. The second she says it, she knows she messed up. She runs away for a moment, imagining her life like a chessboard where every choice is a move with consequences. When she returns, her mother doesn't scream or punish her. She just becomes silent. For Waverly, that silence feels worse than any argument. It's the moment she realizes that the rules of the game aren't just about chess. They're the rules of her relationship with her mother.
Rosa's story moves between the present, where her marriage is falling apart, and the past, when her younger brother being drowned at the beach. Rose is someone who has spent most of her life not trusting her own decisions. She always steps back and lets someone else choose for her. That behavior traces back to what happened with Bing. When Bing disappeared, Rose was supposed to be watching him. The whole family was there, but she was the one directly responsible. The ocean took him in a single moment. After that, Rose carried the guilt that never really went away. Her mother reacted by mixing her Christian beliefs with Christian rituals, praying for a miracle and trying everything she could to bring Bing back. She wrote his name lightly in pencil in the Bible, almost like she was leaving room for it to be erased if he returned. That kind of hope, mixed with pain, shaped Rose deeply. So when her husband Ted handled every decision in their marriage, she let him. She thought it was safer that way. But eventually, he wanted a partner, not someone who avoided responsibility. When he asked for divorce, Rose froze just like she did as a child. That turning point is when her mother tells her that she has to learn to speak up, not to save the marriage, but to save herself. And for the first time, Rose actually does. She insists on keeping the house, not out of spite, but because she finally understands that she has the right to choose something for herself.
The voice from the wall follows Lena St. Clair and her mother, Jeannie. Lena grows up believing that her mother can predict unfortunate events. Her mother is often silent, withdrawn, and emotionally distant. Lena explains that her mother was once lively and beautiful when she lived in China, but after moving to the United States and experiencing hardships, she changed. She became quiet and carried a great deal of sadness. In the apartment building, the walls are extremely thin. So at night, Lena hears loud arguing coming from the apartment building next door. She hears shouting, crashing, and fighting through the wall. Because she doesn't know what is actually happening, she imagines the worst and believes somebody is getting seriously hurt or even murdered. Even though she is frightened, she never calls for help. She never tells anyone. The story also includes a memory of when Lena and her mother lived in an Italian neighborhood. Her mother once predicted that a baby boy would die, and later, the child actually did. This event stays with Lena and strengthens her belief that her mother's predictions always come true. Because of her mother's constant warnings and gloomy outlook, Lena grows up expecting bad things to happen. She accepts fear as a normal part of everyday life. Later in the story, Lena meets this girl, Teresa, who lives in the apartment building next door. Teresa is loud, outspoken, and often argues with her mother. One night, after a particularly loud fight, Teresa unexpectedly climbs through Lena's bedroom window. This shocks Lena, who had assumed something terrible had happened to her. Teresa explains that she and her mom fight frequently, but they always make up afterwards. Teresa then uses fire escape to climb into her own apartment building after being kicked out by her mother, in which her and her mother make up after fighting for a short while. Lena begins to realize that the sounds she hears through the walls are not signs of violence or death, but simply arguments between a mother and a daughter. Teresa's home is loud and chaotic, but her relationship with her mother is active and emotional. Lena's own home is very different. There's no yelling or arguing, only silence. Her mother moves quietly through the apartment, detached and distant. There's very little open emotion or communication between them. By the end of the story, Lena understands that what she imagined was happening next door was not the reality. She also starts to recognize how much her mother's fears and behavior have influenced the way she sees the world. This chapter follows Lena as she listens, imagines, observes, and slowly begins to understand the difference between what she fears and what is actually happening around her.
Finally, I'm going to talk about Two Kinds, which tells the story of Jingmei Wu and her mother Suyeon. This story is about pressure, identity, and the clash between a parent's dreams and a child's wishes. Suyeon, the mother, believes that in America you can be anything you want, famous, talented, successful, if you just try hard enough. She looks at her daughter Jingmei and decides that she will turn her into a prodigy. At different times, Suyeon tries to make Jingmei into a Chinese Shirley Temple, a genius at memorization, and finally, a piano prodigy. Every night, Jingmei is forced to take tests, practice, and perform. Her mother watches TV talent shows and reads magazines for ideas, then pushes her daughter to match those perfect kids. At first, Jingmei tries to cooperate. She wants to please her mother and also kind of likes the idea of being special. But as time goes on, she realizes she's not naturally gifted at everything. She feels humiliated when she fails, and she begins to resent her mom. A major turning point happens when Jingmei realizes something. If she doesn't try, she can't really fail. So she intentionally stops putting effort into the piano. She messes up on purpose. She refuses to practice properly. It's her quiet rebellion against her mother's non-stop expectations. Still, her mom signs her up for a talent show. Jingmei is supposed to perform a piece called Pleading Child. She walks on stage confidently, but because she never practiced seriously, the performance is a disaster. She hits wrong notes, loses her place, and embarrasses herself in front of everyone. Her mother is devastated, but instead of being gentle, she doubles down. She wants Jingmei to keep practicing piano, to keep trying to become someone. Jingmei reaches her breaking point. She explodes and says horrible things, basically telling her mom she wishes she had never been born, and referencing the dead twin babies her mother lost in China. This is one of the most painful moments in their relationship. After that, the piano lessons stop. Jingmei grows up holding on to that anger and that memory. She thinks of the piano as a symbol of her mother trying to control her and force her into some perfect version of herself. Years later, after her mother dies, Jingmei gets the piano as a gift. She sits down and plays Pleading Child, and then discovers there is another piece on the next page called Perfectly Contented. She realizes they are actually two halves of the same song. Jingmei finally understands that her mother wasn't just trying to torture her. Suyeon truly believed in the American dream and wanted Jingmei to have opportunities she never had. The way she pushed was harsh, but it came from love and trauma. She had lost so much in China that she refused to let her daughter waste any chance in America. In the end, Jingmei doesn't suddenly become a prodigy. She doesn't magically fix everything, but she begins to see her mother more clearly and understand that their conflict was about more than just piano. It was about dreams, fear, love, and identity.